welcome to the second week of Stories for Shabbos. Today, we get to hear a story about one of our favorite people to learn about. We've told lots of stories about him before. It is the Chafetz Chaim. Very good. The Chafetz Chaim was the greatest rabbi of his generation. He lived about 100 years ago. And in addition to learning lots of Torah and teaching lots of Torah and writing lots of Torah books, he also owned a little grocery store. And he primarily owned a grocery store so that he could provide for his family, so that he could make some money to buy food for his wife and his kids. But he also used it as an opportunity for chesed, so that he could help out other people. And if somebody came into a store who he knew didn't have so much money, he would tell them, just take whatever you need, it's okay. And if he ever got into some sort of dispute or misunderstanding with the customer, he always let the customer win, and he always would give them some extra food or money. He never wanted to make any money. He wouldn't take a penny. Or in those times it was called a ruble, that wasn't absolutely 100% rightfully his. Listen to the story for a perfect example. See, in his store, the Chafetz Chaim sold fish. And he had a scale on which you would weigh the fish. The fish cost a certain amount per pound. You would weigh the fish to see how many pounds it was, and then that's how much you would pay to purchase the fish. One morning, the store had been open for a couple of hours, and people had bought lots of food, fish and other things. And he realized, after a couple of hours, that there was a little extra piece of fish sitting on the scale that he hadn't noticed was there. What does that mean? That means that some customers had come in, weighed their fish, paid for it, taken it home, and they ended up paying a little extra because they were paying for that little extra piece of fish that was sitting on the scale all morning, but then they weren't taking it home. And the Chafetz Chaim felt terrible. That means if somebody bought a fish that they should have paid $9 for, they were paying $9.25 for it, or maybe $9.50. But people overpaid, even though it was just a tiny little piece. So they only paid a tiny little extra amount. But the Chafetz Chaim didn't want to take even a ruble more than he deserved. What should he do? The Chafetz Chaim was thinking. He wanted to make sure that whoever paid too much for their fish got their money back. You know what the Chafetz Chaim did? For the next 2 weeks, every single customer that came into the store, whether they were buying fish, milk, eggs, bread, or whatever they came in to buy, the Chafetz Chaim gave them a free piece of fish. He figured that by the time 2 weeks had passed, whoever it might have been that overpaid for their fish on that morning had by then gotten a whole free fish, way more than the little extra that they paid for their fish. But in this way, the Chafetz Chaim could feel assured that he didn't make any money that wasn't rightfully his. And for that little extra that he got paid, he paid it back to the customer many, many times over. That's how honest he was. He must have lost so much money those weeks, giving away tons of free fish to all of his customers. But to him, it was worth it to make sure that he didn't take any money that wasn't his. Do you know that the Torah says that the reward for being honest in your business, for having honest weights and measures and making sure that you don't take anything that doesn't belong to you, is lema'an ya'arichun yamecha. You will merit to live a long life. The Chafetz Chaim lived till he was 95 years old, which was especially old for 100 years ago. Who knows? The Chafetz Chaim was a big tzaddik and had lots of mitzvos and lots of Torah and lots of chesed. But maybe one of the reasons he merited to live such a long life is because he was so carefully honest in his little grocery store. We might not own a grocery store, and we might not sell fish, and we might not own a scale. But we too can learn from the Chafetz Chaim to be honest in everything that we do, to be careful to always be truthful in how we act and how we speak. And hopefully, like the Chafetz Chaim, all of us and all of you should also merit a long and happy life. Good Shabbos, everyone!
Good Shabbos!